Hey, yo, Fro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. This episode, we're going to touch on the day's news and rumors, but before we get to that, please don't forget the Fro Wrestling Podcast special event, live fan voting, opening up tomorrow night, 9 p.m., Saturday night, May 13th. We'll be taking your votes. We'll be releasing the first set of votes in the tag team tournament, as requested by the loyal listeners of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. So, tune in with us tomorrow night for our live broadcast. We'll be taking your questions online and getting your comments, and hopefully we can really knock it out of the park again this week. You guys did awesome last week. Thank you so much for being a part of our show. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast. If you want to be someone who supports and helps this podcast grow, and you can make a monthly contribution, we would love to have you be a part of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family, give you shout outs in all of our videos, make sure we get you some exposure, and if you, depending on the level of sponsorship you'd like to do, we even have an opportunity for you to broadcast live with me on one of our episodes. So, by all means, if that's something you're interested in, check out our Patreon page. Again, www.patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast to become a patron member. Let's get going with some of today's news, and some of the news this week has been very exciting, because as myself, being a longtime wrestling fan, there are certain personalities you really love to either see, hear, or whatever, and one of those for me has always been Jim Ross. Jim Ross is one of the most classy announcers in the history of professional wrestling, and it was announced this week that he is basically the shoe-in to be the lead announcer for the WWE Women's Tournament that has been discussed for the better part of a couple months now. It looks like they are narrowing down the field. They're starting to get ready to bring in the rest of their 32 female talents, and the videotaping of that should take place in July. But for now, not a lot of details out there, but we do know that Jim Ross looks like he will be the lead announcer for that event. So that ought to be pretty exciting to see him back in the WWE booth again for the first time since WrestleMania. The June 30th and July 1st WWE shows in Japan have some news that is very interesting. Hideo Itami will be going to Japan for their overseas tour, and he is booked to face Chris Jericho. Now, Chris Jericho just left. He just left the promotion. He was written off of television with the whole end of that Kevin Owens feud, and now they're already kind of spoiling his return to the company. Now, in the past, Chris Jericho has come back just for these overseas tours, and it is very important to note that when you look at who is on the tour with him, Hideo Itami is from NXT naturally, but the rest of the talent pool is from Raw, and at the end of the storyline that we just finished seeing with him on SmackDown, he's been drafted to SmackDown, so it would not make a lot of sense for him to be wrestling with the Raw brand if they were planning on bringing him back to SmackDown, and I can't see any method of explanation that they could use for why he would suddenly be back on Raw, when that was the whole point of him winning the United States Championship, was to have an easy way to transition him over where Kevin Owens was. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Very cool that he's not going to be gone any longer than he has to be. Now, of course, this could just be the 1-2 punch. They're going to be 2 nights, June 30th and July 1st, and that might be it. He may be gone for another extended period of time, but hopefully this is a glimpse into his future, and hopefully he's coming back for a longer stay once again, as he is probably, if not the best, certainly one of the best talents on the roster right now. Ace Perry. I know a lot of you may not know who Ace Perry is, but I really want to give this shout out to Welterweight Wrestling. Ace Perry is the first Welterweight Wrestling champion, having won their championship on their debut episode May 7th after winning a 7-man elimination scramble. For those who have no idea what Welterweight Wrestling is, it's a promotion that has just recently started up. They're now looking to get DVD, MP4, different distribution media, online distribution and such, so that they can bring a new, fresh product to the wrestling fan base. Now look, I saw some of the wrestling that's available on YouTube, and if you go on YouTube and look for Welterweight Wrestling, you will find some of their offerings. And what I hope people understand is, don't tune into this program looking for WWE quality pyrotechnics and everything else. But if you're looking for some entertaining professional wrestling, Welterweight Wrestling has the opportunity to really provide that in a lot of the way like the 205 Live show does, but they're doing it in their own way. And they're booking talents that you may not necessarily be familiar with, but those who you could probably get behind relatively quickly. Clearly very athletic guys who I'm sure at some point would love to have their opportunity to wrestle on the biggest stage of all. But in the meantime, Ace Perry and the rest of their gang doing a great job on their kickoff show. If you haven't seen it, it is going to be available for replay on demand right now. Go to welterweightwrestling.com and check it out. Very cool program. Stephanie McMahon back in the news this week. She said she still has the urge to get back into the ring and compete. And if it was something where she would have the opportunity to be a part of a meaningful storyline, she would love to get in the ring. And she also made reference to the fact that she really enjoys playing the heel role. It's almost like, and for anybody who's ever watched Stephanie and really tried to analyze her character, she pulls it off so well. You honestly believe she is as evil as her character makes her out to be, which anybody who knows the McMahon family knows. She is not like that. She's known to be a very nice person, but in the context of her character, she plays it so well and she enjoys it so much. So maybe at some point in the future, let's face it, she's not all that old, you know? She's in her late 30s. Maybe we get to see Stephanie McMahon step into the ring at least one more time before she's past her prime, so to speak. In other news, as everybody knows by now, Braun-Strowman is injured. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. And while he's gone, people have been waiting to hear what he has to say. And Braun-Strowman, not known for being the overly outspoken person on the internet, did post something on Twitter. He said, quote, "I will return to finish what I've started, and that's carving my name in history as the most destructive thing WWE has ever seen. This surgery is just a minor speed bump. I will return bigger, stronger, faster, and even more dangerous than ever. Mark my words, I am the definition of unstoppable." This is very cool to hear from Braun Strowman because it's a side of his character I don't feel like we've had the opportunity to see in the past. He does talk and he talks tough and he's had some great physical matches, but we haven't got to see a lot of personality from him beyond a few short promos. This is cool. Even though it's not a large a soundbite or whatever, it's an opportunity to get a glimpse into his passion for his position on the card, and it makes me want to see him back in the ring as fast as possible. I really like Braun Strowman. I know a lot of people have a thing with him being so young, so new to the business. Some people think he's still too green. I don't see that. I think he's turned into a great worker already. When you see a guy of his size hitting the aerial acrobatic type stuff that he does, and then also be such a powerhouse, I'm really looking forward to seeing Braun back in the ring as soon as possible. Speaking of people and being back in the ring, the rumor is out there that Daniel Bryan, fresh off he and his wife Brie Bella welcoming the beautiful and adorable Birdie Joe Danielson, 8 pounds, 10 ounces, 21 inches long the other day, fresh off their new arrival, which Vince McMahon, by the way, on Twitter went on and welcomed the newest member of the WWE family, which is very interesting because, you know, the relationship between Daniel Bryan and WWE has been somewhat tumultuous for the last year or so, knowing that Daniel Bryan wants to get in the ring and them not letting him. But on that discussion path, Daniel Bryan was in an interview this week and he made reference to, there was a question posed to him about whether or not he feels like he could return to the ring once his contract is up with WWE, and would he push that button? And the truth is yeah, why not? You know, I'm not saying that Daniel Bryan is destined to go wrestle for some other promotion, but I think WWE is going to be in a tough position when he does finish out his contract. He's going to be able to do what he wants to do, and if they don't want to book him to wrestle, someone else will. And it seems very clear at this point that Daniel Bryan wants to be in the ring. I'm curious to see what Brie's opinion of the situation is. It would be very telling for people to know how serious she feels his injury is, considering the fact that he's gone to other specialists who WWE has not accepted their medical analysis and diagnosis of him, and instead have only taken their own doctors who have kept him out of the ring. But if he has people saying he's good to go in the ring and she supports him, I think there's a chance in 2018, when his contract is up, that we see Daniel Bryan return to a ring for someone. Probably WWE. At that point, if he's still getting medical clearance from his own private doctors, I would anticipate WWE would not want to let a draw like that go to a competitor, and they probably would let him wrestle. But if not, hey, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, whoever, keep your eyes open. New Japan Pro Wrestling, keep your eyes open. You maybe have an opportunity to bring in Daniel Bryan. NXT Takeover Chicago takes place next week, and the card is looking stacked. The NXT Championship match, the headliner is going to be Hideo Itami challenging Bobby Roode after Itami defeated Roderick Strong at the most recent television show. That should be a decent match. I don't know if Itami is really ready for that main event spot yet. I think they've kind of rushed him into that position because they had so much money invested in him originally until he got hurt the first time, hurt again when he came back. I feel like they're just trying to capitalize on this to get some kind of return on their investment, but the match itself should actually be very exciting, and it'll be interesting to see him. He did throw a line out there on Twitter this week making fun of CM Punk, talking about being in Chicago for TakeOver, hit it using his, I said, my go to sleep. Because as people who are huge wrestling fans know, Hideo Itami used that move before CM Punk used that move. So it's funny that he kind of took a shot at Punk on Twitter. I'm waiting to see if CM Punk gives him any kind of rebuttal, shooting back at him. But there will be a ladder match for the NXT Tag Team Championship. DIY is going to challenge the Authors of Pain. There'll be a triple threat for the Women's Championship. As you know, Ember Moon has been pulled out of the match. It was a four-way dance or whatever you want to call that. Now it's going to be a triple threat. Ruby Riott, Nikki Cross, and Asuka. You've got the WWE United Kingdom Championship on the line. Pete Dunne, after his win in the UK television taping, is going to get his shot at Tyler Bate, the champion. And I will tell you, I kind of feel like this is the time where Pete Dunne may actually take that title. You know, Tyler Bates held the thing for, at this point, it'll be 5 going on 6 months. I think this is the time where you probably want to transition the title to somebody else. And Pete Dunne would be just as good as anybody else to be the one to do that. He's got a great reputation. Clearly, he's a worker in the ring. He could do great things. So it'll be interesting to see if they make that move, if they offer to put the championship on Pete Dunne. Kofi Kingston is preparing for his return to the ring. He had posted pictures online of him wearing his walking boot, and then it's like he transitions instantly to wearing like a pair of tennis shoes. And it looks like Kofi Kingston is getting very close to coming back to the squared circle. Don't forget the Fro Wrestling Podcast special event, live fan voting, the opening round of the 256 Tag Team Tournament, Saturday night, May 13th at 9 p.m. If you want to check that out, I need to make sure people understand where to find it, because there was some confusion for a few fans last week. They sent me messages saying they couldn't find the live episode. It is not going to be on YouTube. It will be going through Spreaker, Spreaker.com. And when you get to Spreaker's website, click on the search bar and look for Fro Wrestling Podcast. We'll pop up there, and you click on and follow us live, and you can, submit your questions and all that kind of stuff right to us through their server. It will be available for replay on YouTube immediately following the show. But in the meantime, if you want to be a part of that live interactive show, by all means, check out our Spreaker link and pop on Saturday night, 9 p.m. Don't forget to go to our Patreon page. As we said earlier, go to patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast. If you want to be one of the patron members of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family, we would appreciate all the support you can give us. And that is all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions, your comments, all that stuff. Plus, we'll review some of the really interesting matches that'll be in the first round of the tag team tournament as we open up the live voting to the fans. So, pop on tomorrow night. We'd love to hear from you. Special thanks as always go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all our music and sound effects used in today's show. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to www.thegamecrafter.com/sketchypeople to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all of your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. Be sure to shoot over to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com for all of your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsjsports.com/WWE for my latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until the next episode, tomorrow night, 9 p.m., people, tune in live, give us some feedback, and online live fan voting tomorrow night. Until then, take care, everybody. Have a great night.